Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To all the Hujjaj and everyone going to Al-Haramain al-Sharifain, don't forget all of us in your dua. SubhanAllah, you're going to be standing in front of the Messenger of God, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And I came across actually this image. Sujad, can you pull out this image? Allah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik alayhi wa ala. Look at that. Subhanallah. Is the Maqam of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, the most purified place on earth, the most anointed place on earth, the most holy place on earth. It's the Hujrah. It's the home of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi, where his blessed being is sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi, where the earth has the honor of touching his body, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, where the earth and the sky probably compete and argue with each other every day. Who's more honorable? The one who gets to cradle the body of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi with its soil, or the one that gets to cover him as a canopy with its sky? Anything associated to Sayyidina Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, it receives its honor from him sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Our specialness, if we have any specialness, is just because we're followers of him sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Look, our scholars, our righteous scholars, our spiritual righteous scholars, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam told us that they are like the prophets of Bani Israel. Subhanallah, though they're not prophets, but in their maqam, they're like that. Why? Because they're the ulama, the spiritual ulama of the ummah of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Everything associated to him sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi gets raised in its rank. And here's an old photo, subhanAllah, very different than nowadays, right? Of these men standing or sitting freely at the maqam of Sayyidina Rasulullah alayhi sallam, just pouring their hearts out. Probably, I don't know that man in what looks like, it's a black and white photo, so maybe he's wearing a black jubba and he has a white headdress on, you know. What is he saying from his heart? What is he expressing to the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam? You know, what do you and I say? You know, people ask me all the time, you know, I'm going to Al-Madina, al-Munawwarah, what should I say? What should I do? And only advice I can give is the advice I try giving myself, is enter with utter humility. Just enter bankrupt. You know, don't walk into the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ like you own the place. No, we don't own anything. We know nothing. We are nothing. And the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal has granted us the ability to stand in proximity to the Messenger of God sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam is the greatest gift that we've ever received in our lives. The fact that you can get to Al-Madina al-Munawwarah, you get to the airport and you've arrived into the hudud of the haram. Once you enter into the boundaries of the sacred sanctuary, is a blessing from Allah. That air that you breathe of Al-Madina al-Munawwarah, that it's associated with the air of where his resting place is, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, that's the greatest gift from Allah. To come close to the masjid is a gift from Allah Azza wa Jal. To look at the green dome with our eyes, if that's all that we had, and gave him Salaam alayhi salatu wasalam from there, what an honor. See, walls and space, they can't block hearts. You know, many of our sisters, they go there and they say, well, we don't get the access that the men get. Listen, I understand, but let me tell you something. There are men who get all of the access, and all they do is they go in there on their phones and just completely heedless. All they want to do is just record. They're in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and their hearts aren't even, they have all the access. They have all the physical access, but you know what's not there? The spiritual heartfelt access. So you tell me what's more important, what's more amazing? Someone who is behind a few walls, but between their heart and the heart of the Prophet ﷺ are no walls? Or someone who has access, no walls keeping them physically, but there's walls in the heart? I'll take the first one over the second one any day. I'll take the first one over the second one any day. And so no matter how many walls are built, or no matter how limited our physical access is, there is always unlimited access of love. And love knows no boundaries. And the love of Allah and His Messenger والسلام, is the greatest form of love that any human being can ever experience. And the perfected reality of love is the love between Allah and His Messenger والسلام. That's why He's known as Habib al-Rahman. He's the Habib, He's the beloved. The relationship between the divine and our Prophet والسلام, is mahabba. It's love. And then you and I are journeying to experience what that love is. And we come to His door, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam, to access the love of the Prophet alayhi wasallam, to access the love of the divine. And so we enter with just utmost humility, brokenness, nothing. I know nothing. I am nothing. I have nothing. And when I walk into the ocean of lovers, whether it's men entering from Bab Salaam, or sisters entering from another door, and you're running in there with thousands of other women, you're in the ocean of lovers. You're in the ocean of the select. You're in the ocean of a few who would give everything they had to the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Some came walking. Some came with great difficulty. Some probably spent their whole life savings just to be in His presence, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. What an honor. What an honor that Allah is allowing us to be there. And you come across Him, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi, assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. Assalamu alayka ya Habiballah. Completely taken in that moment. Allahu Akbar. You know, Imam Samhudi, he was an Egyptian scholar, rahmatullahi alayh, who lived in the year 1466 to 1533. And he was the last man to enter into the actual room of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. So you see right now, this is the hujra, the doors, you enter, and right now there's another wall that a few meters from that gate to the actual resting place of the Prophet ﷺ was built to protect anyone from accessing the noble resting place of Sayyidina Rasulullah ﷺ, Sayyidina Abu Bakr, Sayyidina Umar. During the time of Imam Samhudi, that wall was not there. He actually could go directly to the resting place of Sayyidina Rasulullah ﷺ, and he was the last one to do so, and he wrote a book detailing all of the specifics of the home of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. He was a great Shafi'i scholar who originally from Egypt and lived in Al-Madina, al-Munawwarah. But I just want to read for you what he says in his book. He said, I entered the chamber from the back. This is Imam Samhudi speaking. And I smelled a fragrance that in all my life I have never smelled anything more pleasant than it. Sayyidina Nabi, alayhi salatu wasalam. You know, the Sahaba used to collect his sweat because it was sweeter than musk. And they used to mix it with their musk to give it a special scent. Imagine his sweat. You know, something that typically a human being's, oof, you smell, you're like, that's putrid. But with Sayyidina Rasulullah alayhi salatu, it was purified and beautified. And he said, I have never smelled anything more pleasant than it. I greeted the master of the prophets, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam, the last known man to enter the Maqam, the resting place of Sayyidina Rasulullah. Allahu Akbar. You know, what did Imam Samhudi do in his life that Allah blessed him with this blessing? Ya Allah, give me that blessing and give everyone that blessing. Ya Allah. What did he do in his life that Allah chose him for this? ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء. He says, I greeted the master of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then his two companions. When I had completed that emotional moment, you can imagine how emotional of a moment that must have been in his life and the life of a true believer. I sat with my eyes soaking in the sacred courtyard, gazing in awe at its beauty, overwhelmed by longing. This is mahabba, this is love. This is mahabba, this is love, and love is it's emotion, it's pain, there's a pain in longing, there's a suffering in longing, but there's a sweetness to it. Ishq, you have in Urdu, I think ishq, correct? You have in Urdu, Sajjad? Al-Ashiq, the one who's longing, and there's poetry written about Al-Ashiq, the one who's just longing for love. Everything he wants to talk about, she wants to talk about is the one that they love. This is Imam Samhudi. He finishes this ultimate ziyarah of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama. And then he goes to the courtyard and he's trying to probably emotionally stabilize himself, trying to take it all in. And he probably just, as he said himself, you sit and you just start crying. You start weeping, 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 because you're overwhelmed with what's in here. And that's what Allah and His Messenger sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama have to offer us. Something so unique and so special. May Allah make us of the Ashiqeen. May Allah make us of those that long for Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi and experience the climax of that love bi khair wa lutf wa afiyah.